Hello, my fellow WordPress theme developing friends. Today I want to keep moving on with this tutorial and integrate Bootstrap. So yesterday I kind of showed you, or in the last video I kind of showed you where all these things are getting pulled in, so hopefully you kind of have a little bit better understanding of the theme files. I'm going to go ahead and delete those styles because we're not going to need those anymore. Copy those, delete, save that, give it a refresh, maybe a hard refresh, and it's gone. Alright, before we get going further, I want to kind of show you something about PHP errors and how you can kind of solve them. So let's say we're on our index file and we somehow deleted this bracket. Let's save that and then give our site a refresh. The page is not working and we don't have any kind of error messages, so what are we going, that's annoying. What are we going to do? An easy thing to do is go into your WordPress development local environment where you have WordPress set up. So here you can see I have Titan right here. We want to go into WP config. So let's open this file up. You never want to share this file because it has your database details and stuff like that. But if you scroll down, you'll see WP debug and it's set to false currently. Let's go ahead and set that to true. Save that, and then we can X out of that. So when I'm doing local development, I always set that to true, and then I create a new instance on my production server of WordPress, and I always leave that to false because we don't need to display errors on the production, because hopefully you're not doing any kind of development on your production. So if we refresh here, we kind of get a little bit of an error, and it tells us the line number, so we can get close to the error. It tries to give us what's going on, but it's not actually line 17, it's actually 15. So put those back, save, and refresh, and our site's back to normal. So let's see if we do delete that. That actually worked, but you can see up here there's a little undefined constant get header on line 15. So you can see that it's trying to help us a little bit. So that's always good practice, or I like to do it anyway, so you can get some errors without having a white screen of death and not know what's going on at all. Alright, so now that you got that going, let's go ahead and download Bootstrap. So we want to go over to getbootstrap.com. If you don't like Bootstrap, or your development buddy said Bootstrap is horrible and he prefers Foundation or whatever it is, that's fine. You can use what I'm about to show you in any kind of CSS framework there is. I have themes that are based on material design, and there's a handful of material design frameworks out there. So it's all the same process, so just pick what framework that you like, follow these steps, and you'll be good to go. Alright, so let's start here. I'm going to go to download Bootstrap. We just currently want this one right here, the regular compiled and minified CSS and JavaScript. Sass is where it's really at, and it's real fun, but I'm assuming you're kind of beginner WordPress developer or theme developer, so we'll do Sass at a later time. So let's download this, and you can see it went to my desktop. So wherever your browser is set to download files, that's probably the location it'll be. So I'm going to unzip this and open these files. Here we are. So we have some CSS, we have some fonts, and we have some JS. So what I'm going to do is in my WP content, themes, Titan, I'm going to add a CSS directory. New folder, CSS. Alright, and in that CSS, I'm going to grab the minified version of Bootstrap. So I'm going to use the minified version because it's minified, and minified means I took all the spaces out and it's faster loading, and I don't expect to make any changes to the Bootstrap code. If I want to override anything, I can do that in my regular style sheet, and if that doesn't make sense, I'll go over that in a little bit. But there's no reason why you should use just the regular Bootstrap CSS unless you're using it on an HTML project and you're actually making edits to it. But with that said, they have a customizer over here that you can kind of customize what you want your Bootstrap download to include. So yeah, I'm kind of getting off a tangent, but let's get back to adding it to our theme. Alright, so I have the Bootstrap minified version in CSS. I'm also going to grab the fonts, so I'm going to new folder, fonts, grab all these. I actually use Font Awesome as well. We can go over that later. And then we already have a JS file, so let's go and get the minified version of Bootstrap jQuery. Alright, so it's in our theme. If we go back over our theme files, we see we have a CSS file or directory now, JS, and we have the fonts directory. So now we need to add it to our WordPress theme. So if you have an HTML background and CSS background, normally you just go to the header and add some calls to your files. But that is a big no-no in WordPress. If you ever open up a theme and you see some calls to CSS or JavaScript in the header and footer, you probably shouldn't be using that theme because it's developed around bad practices. You can read about that, just Google how to add CSS or JavaScript to your WordPress theme, and there'll be millions of articles of why you shouldn't include it in your head. And it's mainly because of the way that WordPress loads and how it renders your theme. So with that said, the best way to do it is a thing called onQ, and in our starter themes it's actually in our functions.php. So we haven't really gone over the functions at all, but the functions just add some functionality to your site. Some really nice functionality actually. Here you can see it's loading different things. So we have a function here called Titan Setup. So what it's doing is loading our text domain. So when we first started downloading our starter files, I went over the text domain a little bit and it said that this text domain is going to be used to do different languages. So if someone wants to translate your theme, they can use this text domain, and ours is currently Titan. And then there's just these other add theme support. You can Google these and read about them. I'm not going to go over them because it's going to take too long. We'll probably circle back around in some of these. Like this is how you create a menu. We may want to add a menu to the footer. This adding theme support for HTML things like the search form, comments. Add theme support for the customizer. So when you're in your dashboard, you can go to Appearance, Customize, and then you have that customizer on the front end where you can edit things. That custom logo support, and we'll go over that a little bit later. The content width, this is how you create a widget area. Currently we just have one widget area, so if we go to Appearance Widgets, we have that just a one sidebar area. You may have used themes in the past where you have like 3 or 4 sections for your footer area. It's a pretty common thing to do. You just keep adding different widget areas. And then right here we have what I'm trying to get to is the scripts. So your functions files can get pretty long, and you can see here that the developers of this theme added some other pretty much functions to our functions. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to break this apart. I like to add in my INC, I like to create a new file, and in that file I grab everything that says onQ, scripts, and styles all the way to this add action. So be sure you're grabbing the same thing if you're going to follow along. You can actually keep this here if you want. It's not going to break anything. Again, I just like to break everything out and have it a little bit modular. So, when I'm wanting to go add a script or add a Google Fonts or add a new jQuery or something, I know that it's in my INC scripts file. I don't have to dig through all my functions. And I normally break out the widgets and things like that. But again, we'll get to that point. All right, so I'm going to copy this out. Actually cut it out. Gone. All right. And then in my new file, paste that in there. And because this is a PHP file, I need to open up my PHP tags. And that's ready to go. So we can save that, INC, and I'm going to call it scripts, just like that. So now I have this new file called scripts. I need to tell my functions file about it. So exactly how they're doing down here, I just want to add, I can copy this, put it above here, and get template directory INC scripts. We also want to change the comment, of course, so you know what this is doing. Add scripts to WordPress theme, or just add scripts to theme, whatever your comment might be. This get template directory, WordPress has a lot of these things that helps get to the right directory. You never want to hard code anything, like, you never want to put http titan.com/ because if your URL changes, if someone uses this on a different URL, it's not going to work, of course. So that's why you always use these when you're trying to get somewhere or point WordPress to a certain directory. So as always, just grab this, put it in Google, and you can see how it works. Header, if you go into header, you can see home URL. That's another example of the same thing, kinda. Alright, so we got scripts in there. It's if we save that and we go over to our scripts, we should be good to go now. So now all we need to do is, of course, add our Bootstrap scripts. So we can copy one of these here. Copy. So notice the only difference here is WP OnQ style and WP OnQ scripts. So scripts and styles are, of course, different. So when you're doing CSS, make sure that you're copying style instead of scripts. So let's copy one of these. Copy. Put it up here. So I'm going to put it above it so that it loads first, and then our regular style sheet, get style sheet URI, that's going to grab this, but I want Bootstrap to load before it. So what we need to do is do dot, actually need to grab, get the template directory, dot in PHP means like and, or it's concatenated these two strings together. And then we're going to put the path to what we're trying to add. So CSS bootstrap.min.css. So again, we can copy this, go over to Google, paste that in there. I clicked on developer. See the codecs, go into here, retrieve the style sheet directory. So it gives you some examples if you're trying to get some images or something like that. Alright, so we got that in there. Let's save it and reload the front end of our site here. You can see some things already changed. That's because Bootstrap has been added. If we inspect the element and we go up to our head here, we can see bootstrap min.css, but notice our regular style sheet isn't being added. That's because I used the same name, and I do this all the time, and it's mostly by accident, but these things need to be named differently, or WordPress isn't going to know that it needs to be added. So I'm going to change this to Titan Bootstrap styles. And it's always a good idea to put the theme name or some kind of unique identifier above anything that you're building. So notice our function has Titan in front of it. Our names have Titan, because if you just put style in there and then you add a plugin and they also use style, your stuff's not going to be added, and you got a big error there. So it's always best practice to do that. So if we reload again, go into the head, you can see that Bootstrap's being added, and also our styles are being added right there. So if you click on Bootstrap, see there's some Bootstrap min. You can click on that. See how it's all minified? So I'm in sources, and this is all the Bootstrap code, and it's minified. You can't really tell what's going on, but if you click this little guy here, it'll actually break it out for you so you can see all the different Bootstrap styles. Pretty cool. Alright, that's another little trick for you. Alright, so now we got the Bootstrap CSS. Let's go ahead and put the Bootstrap JS in there. So this here. So let's grab the scripts, copy that. When it comes to JS, it doesn't really matter the order unless you need something loaded beforehand. So let's go ahead and Bootstrap JS. So get template directory. In the JS directory, I want to add bootstrap.min.js. Alright, and in this array here, you can actually tell it that you need jQuery loaded. So that's pretty cool, actually. If we Google this, go into the codex here, they give you some examples of how to use this. It doesn't really tell us anything about jQuery in here. Let's see. No. External links maybe? No. That's just, I'm sure it's somewhere in the codex. I don't want to waste your time looking for it. But in this array, I'm telling it that I need jQuery loaded before it loads Bootstrap, because Bootstrap relies on jQuery. So that's what we need. And then this true down here tells it that tells the script that we need it to load in the footer. I need some more documentation for y'all so y'all can kind of read more about it. There's the thing of properly load scripts. Maybe we can put foot jQuery. Alright, again, I'm not going to waste your time, but yeah, let's save this and I can kind of show you what's going on here. So let's reload this, and if we go down, close the head, body, you can see here our scripts are down here. And if you scroll back up or open your header up, you can see that up in here that jQuery's now been added. So a pretty cool little trick. So you don't have to actually include a call to jQuery, because WordPress already includes it for us if we just put it in this array. Another thing you can do, say you're trying to load Google Fonts or maybe the CDN for Bootstrap of an external URL. So this max CDN, copy that. You can actually put the whole thing in here. That was CSS, but you get what I'm saying. You can include URLs, and you never want to put the HTTPS. You can just do // and it'll automatically render for you. So that's another little trick, but I'll do a tutorial on how to add some Google Fonts and we'll go over this again. But for now, let's keep it get template directory and keep it like that. So again, we can reload the front end and see that we kind of have some new styles now. If you read about Bootstrap, it'll tell you that it already includes like normalize and things like that. And if you remember when you're looking at our style sheet, that the first thing here is normalize. So we can get rid of a lot of this stuff. I normally get rid of everything that's not related to WordPress. So there's only like a couple things like this media, captions, galleries, widgets. So I'll go through here and I'll delete a lot of this stuff because it's just duplicate code. And the one in Bootstrap is minified, so we don't need a lot of this. So typography, you can see it says body, button. Those are all broad, and again, Bootstrap includes all that. So you can delete all these. It already has pre-code or pre in there. So elements, Bootstrap includes all of these as well. Image, figure, table, yep, Bootstrap includes those. Buttons and inputs, Bootstrap has some pretty nice styling already for all of this stuff. Text area, yep. Navigation, we're actually going to include some Bootstrap navigation, but they don't have any styles in here anyway. They just have a spot for us to do it. Links, Bootstrap has that for us. So here's the menu. Like I just said, we're going to include some a Bootstrap menu, but you can see how they styled this menu. Maybe you don't want to use Bootstrap and you keep these styles in here and kind of do your own menu structure. So that's small menu when it goes down to a small device. Accessibility. Bootstrap has some accessibility, but WordPress calls it screen reader text. So you may want to keep these in here unless in Sass you can actually override the name of it. So we can go over that another time. Aligns, this is when you align an image left or right in your editor. It adds these classes, and Bootstrap's is just left and right. So you may want to keep those as well. Shouldn't need any clearings. Widgets is good to keep in here, and this stuff is related to posts and pages, so I normally keep that in there. Comments, infinity scroll, not really going to touch on that right now. Media, it's always good to, these are page content. You can see that it's WordPress related, so I normally keep those in there. Captions has WP in front of it, so it's WordPress related, and the galleries are also WordPress related. So give that a quick save, refresh, and you can see that we have even more Bootstrap styles coming in. So this video is getting pretty long. I feel like I'm dragging it out a little bit as well. So I'm going to end it here, and in the next tutorial I'm going to actually show you how you can use some of the Bootstrap styling and start styling this theme to look more Bootstrap, or start customizing a little bit more using their grid classes and their menus and things like that. As always, if you have any questions, please feel free to leave something in the comment and I'll be sure to get to it. I'll see you in the next one.